I remember the other day when you were talking about starring in two films that had a similar premise, basically the same script.
What part of I don't want to ever talk about that thing again did you understand?
None of that.
Oh,
I understood nothing. And we will talk about it today, especially today, because we are joined by an esteemed, critically acclaimed, commercially successful individual. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another fun episode of Paul
and Baaj
and
with
Stephen. I missed it.
I should not be so happy about this.
Let's do it again.
The fact that I missed it has given me joy.
Let's
It's me that is always spoiling
Yeah.
it. And he used to form like he's one like trained presenter.
Yes.
And then I'm just one dude making me look like
the mic.
Well, okay, here we go again. Hello, everyone, wherever you are listening from and watching from in the world. Welcome to another fun and exciting and hopefully informative edition or episode of
Paul
and Baaj
with
Stephen
in character.
Stephen Okonkwo, thank you so much for joining us. For people at home, Stephen is a critically acclaimed, commercially successful screenwriter in Nigeria. He has written projects like The Party, which is currently streaming on Netflix.
Soólè.
He has written films that have gone on to do big numbers in theaters across Nigeria, West Africa, and the world, like Ajosepo, Soólè. He currently wrote a film that is, I believe, currently breaking frontiers and boundaries at the cinema called Love and New Notes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
I missed a lot.
We've been praising you since.
Thank you.
But yes. I missed a lot, but you are, as they say, as the kids will say, hot stoves.
Hot stuff, yeah. Now you rain now.
Yes.
So I say that to say thank you so much for making out time to come on this. We are very sure you're probably busy writing something amazing and collecting all this money.
The money.
Let him just grace us with small presents. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Pleasure.
Yes.
But how's your week been though? How's this week been for you?
It's been eventful. We just came off the premiere of Love and New Notes.
Okay.
It was a big premiere. It was a big premiere. It was a big premiere.
It was. You know, when you go for, as a writer, you go for these premieres. You're always like, oh God, hope they love it. And so the reaction has been, because again, no matter how well you think you're writing for people, and they determine if you have it. And the reaction has been amazing.
Okay,
that's good.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. How did this all come about? I mean, what did you study in school, if we're to go into that? And how did you get here?
Good question. Because
so full disclosure, I have a master's in mathematics.
Ooh. I was about to guess something, but maths wasn't the guess.
Yeah. I have an MSc in mathematics.
Okay.
And I should have had my PhD by now, but I've been chasing money. So
writing bangers.
But this came about from, I don't know, just basically from my love of story.
Okay.
I think if I'd been left my devices, I would have been, I don't know,
statistician
or something, whatever.
What kind of artist?
Yeah.
Like artist
art in terms of whichever field in art, because that's been my natural inclination. Yeah. If you leave me to myself, that's what I will do.
That's what you prefer doing. Yeah.
So I just had the fortune. I don't know if I want to call it a good one or the bad one, but the fortune of being good with numbers. Yeah. So,
numbers. Okay. That's
okay. So my inclination, right from childhood, has always been art.
To create art.
Went into school and then I was good with numbers. It wasn't because I didn't really try. It wasn't like it was like.
Oh, it just came naturally.
You
don't like people like you.
Unfortunately, I do.
So I didn't really try, and then because I had so I wasn't one of those people who your father said you must be this and that. No, it wasn't anything like that.
You picked math?
I didn't pick it.
Okay. To be fair,
I didn't pick it.
Yeah.
But it just happened that right from nursery school, primary school, even secondary school.
Yes.
And then when my mates are struggling with trigonometry, geometry, and all that stuff,
all those things,
further maths and all those things, it just came.
It just came to you
naturally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say I was a good student.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of those things. I wasn't trying. So
it's safe to say you had a beautiful mind, or you have a beautiful mind.
Well, I'll take the compliments.
Thank you for that. So I wouldn't say I was really trying because I don't think I've ever been a good student, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. When you say good students, do you mean like
those who actually take the time to study?
Okay, I know what you mean.
I don't think I've ever been. It doesn't mean I've not had good grades.
Yeah, I can know exactly what you mean.
But I wouldn't say I've seen good students. I know what good students are. So I wouldn't say I've ever been one. Because even when I was an undergrad, I was busy doing other stuff, like going for joining theater troops, martial art classes, doing dancing.
Martial arts classes.
Yeah. I was in all of that. Yeah. So but what happened was, at the point where you had to choose between, you're either going to have to be an art student or a science student. My dad was like, Stephen, you're good with this. If you go for art,
you can't really explore that.
And decide eventually you want to be a scientist, it's going to be a difficult.
I see that.
But if you do sciences, and you decide you want to go do any form of art, it's an easy
transition.
Looks like he was right.
Yeah, he was right. So that was the only reason I stayed, or that. So it wasn't any form of you have to be a doctor or not that they didn't want to, but it wasn't that kind of pressure. I didn't have that kind of pressure. I know people who
so lucky because I can't even imagine, especially in that day and age. Maybe now,
things are.
But that day and age, you find out that your child is good at math, just has a natural proclivity for math. What are you doing in art?
You're gonna be next cheeky.
What? So it wasn't. So I'm not like. It wasn't so much like they wanted you to be an engineer or anything. I know they would have loved it because we have 4 engineers in my family. So but it was more like if you had to do one or the other, this is the one you should do in case you wake up and decide, you
don't do it anymore.
I'm no longer interested in this. I want to go back to do this.
Good.
So so right now, one of the reasons I've not even done my PhD is one.
Apart from money.
Apart from money, but apart from money, I've been struggling with what part aspect of mathematics I want to do, because I just don't want to do. I'm not a lecturer. I'm not going to be a lecturer. Let's
not your thing.
Ourselves.
So why are you doing the PhD then?
I have the brains for it.
Yeah. And I think you're tired of being viewed by your family members as the bum.
What
is he doing? He's a writer.
No.
Most times that's the narrative.
No.
But if yours is not like that, that wasn't like that.
Yeah, that was like. So it wasn't like I don't come from an academic family. When I say academic family, it's not like I don't come from a family of professors and bookworms. No.
Okay.
So when I say I have 4 engineer siblings, they are just 4 engineer siblings who were doing fine in their field, not because they are academicians in any way, shape, or form. No, so it's not that kind of pressure. It's just more like, when you see people getting it and then I can do this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be a situation where I wake up, I'm 60, I'm like, shit.
You should have done that.
I could have done it. So let me just do it.
So it's just one of those things. So I have the liberty to do that. I think it's a privilege, to say, I think I have a brains for this. I should have done this.
I thought first you saying you have masters in math already was quite impressive.
Quite impressive stuff.
Definitely.
Because having a master's degree in that and being able to segue into this space and achieve the level of success, because no gaslight. I'm not trying to gas you up. You have achieved a certain level of success in this space as a writer. Is no mean feat. How did it all come about? Because if I'm not mistaken, Soólè was your first major feature film.
Was that the first one that really puts you in that?
Yeah.
Everybody starts calling you, write this for me.
It was Soólè.
Yeah.
And
before you talk about Soólè, let me just give you props for that. So this is a while ago.
Yeah.
Different, when you're having downtime. And there was this conversation about how, because we have so many...
Baaj, please, what is Soólè again? for the audience.
Oh, Soólè is a film.
Yes.
That is, what platform can I see Soólè on? It's a feature-length film.
Soólè is now on, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I'm not sure where they can
Is it on Netflix?
It's not like on Netflix.
Oh, it's not on
Netflix. It's left
Netflix
Netflix.
anymore.
The last time someone told me about it, I think it was on DSTV.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's an African
so I
Magic
think,
then.
yeah,
Okay, so
African
if
Magic
you're lucky
yeah.
enough to get to see it, Soólè, it's a fantastic film.
Yes.
And one of the things that, because it touched, not even touched on, pretty much it was one of the major parts of the film. It brought me back to a conversation I had a long time ago about, with Nigeria having so many ethnic groups, so many languages, so many different people, it would be very cool if you had films that could just have all these people exist in the same space, and still the story can be cohesive, it can be natural, like you're watching it and you can relate to the behaviors of everybody, because we all know everybody. And there wasn't a lot of films like that. This is long before Soólè. Then and also now brought me back to that. So I always feel very nice when maybe you've had any kind of criticism over Nollywood and you're just sitting down next and someone does something about that. Yeah. So that was very brilliant. Yeah. Yes, so, we were about to say something.
Yes. How did Soólè come about?
Soólè came about. I think you know how Soólè came about now.
He
doesn't know.
He does know.
He doesn't know. He knows nothing.
So yeah.
You know nothing, Paul.
I know nothing.
Paul. So I don't know how much Paul knows.
Paul knows nothing.
But what happened was, let's know Paul for a minute. I've known him for a minute.
Yeah. Why are y'all making me look like some Paul?
No. Don't feel bad about
it.
So I've known Paul for a minute. So what? It just so happens, like I think you were sharing space with Kyle Kasum at that time.
Yeah.
And then whenever I do write, we exchange scripts, I write, you read, you write, he reads. So I wrote one completely unhinged short film, the clergyman and the cleric.
Yeah,
it was absolutely unhinged and high octane and that stuff. So it was just basically confined to a car, and then somebody goes in. Was then when there was when one chance was still a big deal, and then you get into a car.
Yeah, but
it's still a big deal, I guess. So. A lady gets into a car and then she meets this set of unhinged people. Like the title says, the clergyman and the one-eyed clerk. It was completely bonkers. So I think
I read it.
He read it.
Yeah.
And then a year or two later, Kyle read it. And then before that, Kyle had reached out to me for something that didn't work out. So I think then he read that.
Yeah.
And then he called and he said, "Yo, we have to do this." Yeah. And then Soólè turned out completely different
from that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that is completely unhinged. Yeah.
Can you walk us a bit through that process creatively? Okay, from here I had this short screenplay, and how it became what it became.
Yeah, so I had that, and then Kari and Aduni were trying to do something.
Aduni Ade?
Yeah, Aduni Ade.
Okay.
And then we're like, oh, okay, so let's move. We want to move this from a car into a box. Yeah. So I have a few experiences in bosses.
Yeah. That's like one of the things I like about it.
Because University of Port Harcourt has to go. My parents are, in the West, and then you have to travel all the way to Port Harcourt.
It was NYC movement.
You have to do all of that. So I had a little experience at the time, with doing all of that. So went in, and then as soon as I understood what we were trying to do, with the screenplay, and we said, okay, I wrote something slightly closer to the clergyman and the one-eyed cleric, and then we then moved from there to Aduni is going to be the protagonist. Okay. So let me tailor this protagonist to Aduni.
Just a minor segue as you continue.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between writing artistically from pure art and writing with certain individuals in mind?
Oh yes, there's a
casting wise.
Yeah. There's a big difference. Yeah, because Clergyman and One-Eyed Clerk was artistic.
Yeah. But now you knew this person is going to be a character.
Commercial and successful.
Yes.
That doesn't mean there is no art in it.
Of course.
There's a lot of art in it. It's just you're writing for a
particular
audience.
Yes.
A type of audience.
Yeah.
And this was my first, and I was privileged because this was my first thing writing for
Cinema.
commercial audience.
Yeah.
So
on this scale.
now, yes, at this scale.
Yeah.
It just happened boom, boom, like that. So it wasn't like there was any immediate transition. You're writing beat by beat. No, it was just boom, boom. 1 minute you're writing something for yourself. The next minute you're writing.
How long did it take you to write it? Altogether, all the drafts.
All the drafts.
How many drafts did you go through?
Good question.
How many drafts of Soólè did we have? I'm not sure I remember the exact number. Maybe 4.
Okay.
5.
Okay.
There were some pink pages. I think.
Naturally.
4 thereabouts with some pink pages, I guess.
What are pink pages?
Like
for
basically
people at home who don't-
this scene we've already scheduled.
We greenlit.
Yes.
We're probably in production at this point in time.
We're in pre-production already.
Yes,
We've already scheduled it. We'll have this, but there's certain things here with feel
need to adjust.
or add, and
That's pretty much that's the
so
phrase they use now.
Yeah.
And the
so
And
I get to go. I hope I'm getting the color right. Is that pink?
It's pink pages. But do you know why they're called pink pages?
No, actually, I don't know.
In
Nollywood, do you know you go for the pink pages? There's a name for it.
Addendum. We basically call it addendum.
Addendum,
But yeah, continue.
So back to that, and then that's how we ended up with Soólè,
the screenplay. Yeah.
the screenplay, and then I realized, so that entire process brought me, okay, so this is how you write commercial, and this is how you make money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, right? So let's do that. Let's do more of that. But it was fun. I remember the first day at the premiere.
Yes.
No, not the first day. But the first day I saw it. I saw it already.
Yeah. How did it feel knowing that I had written this and now they had taken it and turned it into this?
Oh, it's one of the most wonderful feeling in the world.
I get you.
I know a few writers get kind of finicky about. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that attached to. It's fame. Come on.
I get you.
But I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Until I sat in the studio, with Cody. I was watching it.
Yeah.
And he was watching me watch it.
Yes.
You get I'm saying, Cody and his wife. I was watching it, and they were watching me watch it to see my reaction. So they were like kind of happy. Oh, he likes it. Oh, he's interested. I'm like, but we changed it. I said, it's fame. Come on, it's fame. So it was fun watching. I was so happy, when I saw it. Then again, when we got to the premiere, I was nervous.
You're nervous,
naturally. Of course. Because now you're dealing with a completely different crowd.
Different crowd. So what happened at the premiere was I started at the staircase, at the hall. I think it was IMAX, I started at the staircase. So I was watching my audience. So
you were watching the audience watch it.
I was watching the audience watch it. So the whole, and all the gags, because you had some gags into
you hope
people would get the gags, they would get the jokes, they were getting them. Oh my god! So that was it, and comedy was, and that was my first time writing a comedy.
Yeah,
that's the first comedy.
Very first time.
Like very first time. Like I'm kidding you.
What did working on Soólè as a screenwriter teach you about writing comedy, as opposed to writing thrillers, dramas, or what you had probably been writing before?
And if you could also touch on, because you mentioned something about the commercial base for the audience. If you could mention, what are the differences as far as that's writing for art and writing for commercial?
Yes.
What did you learn?
Yeah. If there are key points you could share.
So when you're writing for commercial, you don't throw away your techniques as a writer.
Yes.
So what I see most of the time is when we try to write for commercial, everybody just throws everything out the window, and then you just try to make people laugh. No,
I see what you're saying.
And the thing with Soólè was, even though it was a comedy, I have to write it such a way that the characters don't know they're in a comedy.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, it's always cool doing like that.
So you're not
trying to be funny.
You're not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
The characters do not know they're in a comedy. So that's not how you do. You do that. At least that's not how.
Do you feel that the actors translated that understanding on screen?
Yeah, the actors translated that understanding on screen. However,
because I was asking something about that
in terms
as well.
of production, sometimes the makers tend to, Baaj is a comedy actor. Let's bring him in. Because Baaj's audience, of course, are going to come to watch this, and they're coming to watch Baaj do comedy. So we had a few of that. We even had some of that too in Love and New Notes. But I don't mind it as long as it doesn't disrupt the story. You understand? You understand? So I don't mind that because, of course, like it or not, I've seen really crazy people. Yeah.
What do you mean?
In terms of characters like that actually exist
over the
in
top
real life. Over the top characters kind of exist in real life. It's just that everybody isn't trying to be over the top.
Yes.
So you have just one or two people being that way. So it's cool as long as it doesn't affect the story. Okay. So that's one way to do that. We tend to make a lot of comedies where we're trying to make where your characters know they're in a comedy. However, the best way to do is they don't know they're in a comedy. They're just in this messed up situation where the whole thing is just absurd. So that absurdity now and that their
natural reaction,
their illusion to the thing is that makes it funny. Basically, it's like if your characters are feeling the emotion your audience is supposed to be feeling, and there's a problem with the work.
I get you. That's really interesting.
What, are you saying that as far as just comedy is concerned?
No, not just comedy, everything.
So I'm sorry, could you open up on that a bit?
Yeah, so the thing with film is you're selling an emotion, and that emotion needs to be released by your audience. Yeah, so it's basically, that's why sometimes we watch a film and then it doesn't resolve the way we expect it to resolve. Like, why did they do that? I had that feeling when I watched
Which one?
Endgame's the first Endgame, like
the very first one. Avengers.
What is this? Like, what is this? The first, the first
Infinity
part,
War.
Infinity War, Infinity War, Endgame,
Yeah,
so I had that, I had I just went home. I'm like, at the point I realized, why are you doing this? You're a writer. You know this process. Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you punishing yourself?
Yeah.
So it also goes for every other thing.
Yeah.
Romance and
horror,
tragedy,
tragedy.
For instance, when we try to do emotional themes, what we tend to do is your character is walking around, woe is me, or my life is so hard. So imagine that, but your character is trying to fight through their circumstances.
Yeah.
And this circumstance is really tough on them. It is your audience now that feels it. Instead of them crying every time and then you're playing these crying soundtracks for everybody, it's your audience that feels that emotion as to, this guy's life is really, really tough. Like how does it keep going on? You know? So that way you let your audience, you put your characters in the situation and then you let your audience feel the emotion.
As opposed to the actor leading them down that road.
Feeling, my life is so hard.
So on paper, if you don't mind, if you could walk us through just step by step, how would you, Stephen Okonkwo, approach that without too much exposition?
Exactly. Yeah. So what you do is, let's say take emotional stories for instance. Now if you put a good person in a situation, doesn't even have to be a good person, regardless of nature. And I'll give different examples. But if you put a person in a situation where they want something we all want.
Yeah.
They want love. They want a child.
Yeah.
They've been wrongfully accused.
Financial safety.
They want financial safety. They want something we all want.
Yes.
And they're doing the right things to get that thing we want. Like they're doing everything we've been told we should all do by the book. And every time they do that, they run into obstacles, and the obstacles just keep piling up. They won't be the one crying. Your audience will be the one crying.
I hear what you're saying.
So if you've seen The Pursuit of Happiness, for instance, and then you have this guy's character.
It's a feature-length film starring Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
And Jaden Smith.
So good that you always remember to do that.
It's good.
You know what we're talking about. It's so good that you always do that.
So if you've seen that, you have this guy in this situation who is running from social services because he wants to keep custody of his son. But he doesn't have the means to
homeless
do that.
individual,
And he's homeless. And then he keeps running about. And you see he's doing everything right. Everything right. And he's not getting it. So even when he gets to that point where he's really emotional, you don't see him wailing.
Yes.
You see that thing on his
internal.
face. You see his eyes are red. But it is you as an audience who's like,
really.
You can feel it.
You can feel it.
Yes.
If you sing Green Mile, for instance, you see, it's a feature-length film.
And also a book by Stephen King.
I just finished popping him off for doing it, and I did 2 things to do it. I said, Green Mile, my film, you should have seen it. How can you not know Green Mile?
It's one of my favorites, so you've seen that too. So it's that thing. Again, when I say the person doesn't even have, the character doesn't even have to be a good person, so to speak. If you've seen Warrior, for instance.
Yes.
So if you've seen Warrior, it's a feature-length film.
It is.
About 2 fighters.
So if you've seen that, where the father is trying to connect with his grandkids. He's not necessarily a good person. He's not even necessarily apologizing for his mistakes or anything like that. He's at that point in his life where the relationship is really
important to him now.
And it's a human moment.
It's a human moment.
Yes.
So you have that, so we have such situations. I think I wrote something like that for Obaram or something.
Obaram.
Yes.
Obaram is a musical.
Yes, it's a musical. Yes.
I think a lot of people like to.
Yeah, with Nkemo, Nancy
and Darasimi Nadi.
She just killed that thing.
Spectacular.
But Darasimi fans.
So what you have there is a situation where somebody wants something. Somebody wants. So this man is in a financial strait, and then he can no longer carry the burden of raising this child alone. And then now he needs this person to come do their actual thing. And you have a situation where the person is doing all the right things. Again, all the right things. But it's just not working out. Everybody's going to feel that.
True.
As opposed to they're just wailing, and then it's a pity party, so to speak. Kind of. I mean, it's worked for some people. It works for a lot of people. Let's be honest. But at a certain level of writing, you have to be able to have those things. So basically, the feeling is for the audience. Yes, basically, and then if you do that right, it comes out well.
What we're saying, Akai tracks, even when you move outside of scripting, script writing rather, because when you mentioned it, and I realized you actually talking about something that I'd seen in an acting class, because we're talking about male emotion, and especially here, we are almost seen as same as the female emotion, which is horror tabi, start crying, just the way a woman will be crying, you start crying, start wailing, which. It's just not an intelligent way to do it, but it's not
the only way
to do it.
It's not the only way to do it.
But you deprive your audience
from the feeling, because you're already doing it. So why do I have to do it?
So you deprive your audience from
so
that.
The training was now about, instead of doing the whole thing outwardly, do it inwardly. You feel it inward, and they will feel it. And it was even another saying that the strongest, most emotional moment in those times is not when the actor is crying, or more specifically when the male actor is crying. Is actually at that moment where he's trying to hold back the tears.
So that's the thing again. That brings me to things like that, especially when you're writing any form of emotion. I think it works for acting too. Your character should be trying not to feel that emotion.
That's exactly
the feeling. So the instance is, you've put this guy in this situation. He should be fighting hard
to get out of that.
Not to cry. Not to cry.
Because that would be what you do naturally.
Because that would do naturally. You're fighting hard not to fall apart, or fighting hard not to
naturally
because that would naturally what you do. And I think I the day it clicked for me was when I watched I think Denzel Washington talking about his role
Flight?
In Flight.
I guess as much. I guess it was a bit Flight. Flight is a film of Washington, yes.
It's a biopic.
So what you have is, so someone was like, how do you get this drunken thing done? I said, no. You're not acting drunk. You are acting like you're not drunk. Because we've all drunk. And then we've all been there. And then we're all trying to act
like you're not.
Normal, you're not. We've all been sleepy, and then we're all trying to act like we were awake. Like the real deal is you're trying to obfuscate now. You're trying to disguise the situation where I just woke you up from sleep. You were snoring when I woke you, and the first thing you say, I'm good sleeping. I'm good. Like I'm just in this door. I'm not sleeping. So that's the first thing you say. I know you were snoring because I heard you snoring. I mean, you know, you have that. So that's the thing there. As opposed to I mean, if you're doing slapstick, that's okay.
Yes,
There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. And in fact, sometimes you're doing an over the top type genre. That's fine. Or you're doing satire or whatever. That's completely fine. Yeah, but we all know when we're watching it, I'm watching.
You know, that's
satire.
what you're watching.
That's what I'm watching. You know, so that's just basically that when it comes to emotions.
I was fortunate enough to watch The Party, which is currently streaming on Netflix, a 3-part murder mystery. Is it safe to say that is the first feature-length or full-scale, large-scale murder mystery
we've had,
that you have written?
That I have written murder mystery. Yeah,
that has been produced.
That has been produced. Yes.
How did that come about? And was it your idea to go in that direction, or was it? So long story short, Okpe Ajayi has had this thing. You know, Okpe Ajayi is the
EP, Cinemax EP, and then he had this thing. He's lived in a place, and then he's had
the executive producer for the show, and also I think the CEO of Cinemax Nigeria. Yes.
So it was basically, I have this real life situation, and help me write something like that into a picture. So that's how we ended up with the party. Well, of course, it didn't happen exactly like that. But it's just doing that was just basically doing mystery. It's hard.
Is it?
I'll tell you why.
Okay, please.
You want to do it in a way that when you reveal it eventually, it doesn't feel like you just yanked it out of thin air.
Yes.
You don't want to cheat yourself and the audience.
Which happens quite often.
We want to lay those crumbs, but
not too much.
That they figure out where this is going. I mean, of course, some very cerebral. A lot of cerebral people have, you know, and a lot of people, of course, will guess whatever. But that's not
which one is it for me? Actually,
I'm guessing.
I wish I couldn't do that.
You want to lay just enough crumbs to keep them on the edge of their seats and following along. But you also probably, and you will tell me if you agree, do not want to obfuscate or confuse to the point where they lose interest in the entire plot. So you have to find that sweet spot where they don't know what is going on.
No.
So I don't know if you'll agree with me, but also when you're writing murder mysteries or whodunits, you want to leave just enough crumbs so that the audience can remain on the edge of their seats, following along, still confused, but still engaged. You don't want to completely muddy the waters where you lose them to the point where they are now disinterested in the plot.
Yeah.
How do you manage to find that sweet spot?
So,
before you answer, when you're finding that sweet spot, is there a difference when you're making it for the Nigerian audience and for the diaspora or international audience? Will you write in two different ways, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. You know, it does matter, especially because when we made, when you write something for, so there's a major complaint your audience have, when especially a Nigerian audience.
Yeah.
If you write film for Nigerian audience, I'm not saying you write it over in Nigerian that nobody else can watch it.
Okay.
Universal themes, The themes have to be universal.
Yes.
But you know, your setting
your major demographic.
Not just with this demographic, the setting is a Nigerian cultural setting.
Yeah. There's a way we speak.
There's a way we speak.
We have our own peculiar mannerisms.
And then we have our culture, we have how it affects the things we do and how we do it.
And how we think.
So you have to bring all of that in. So you can't just lift your Sherlock Holmes or Agatha Christie or whatever and just dump it. No.
Yeah.
It has to whatever you're doing has to properly translate to and sit naturally within the culture, within the context of the culture which you're writing it. That I find is why some writers struggle and others do well,
I get
especially
you.
within our climb. So if you're writing something that has to do with your character is a Yoruba woman in her 50s, she has to act and speak and be a Yoruba woman in her 50s. You're not bringing in.
So sorry, and it's for the audience, just to be clear. I'm guessing you mean a Yoruba woman in her 50s with a certain cultural experience.
Of course,
because
definitely.
if she grew up in Worcester,
you know what I mean by
Yoruba woman. Of course.
Yeah, you're right.
And also, even in Nigeria, if that same Yoruba woman probably grew up somewhere in the north, she might be slightly different in the way she perceives.
So again, but it checks because the background comes into play. You know, the background is part of the character. You know, whoever this person is. So if she grew up in the north, or she grew up in Worcester, or she grew up anyway, so it checks because it has to show in the person's mannerism, in the way she speaks, in the way she acts, and then her taboos, her fears, her whatever. All of that needs to show there, and I think that's where some of us make that mistake. So but back to your question of doing that is you have to make it entertaining.
How do you do that?
As long as it's entertaining, your audience will follow through because they're not watching a crime documentary. They're watching a means of entertainment first and foremost. So it has to be entertaining first and foremost. So, but as long as it's entertaining, then you can carry people along. Even people who can't necessarily follow the story, not the story now, the cues, the threads, the intricacies of the crime. Even those who can't follow it should be able to follow your story. And know somebody is dead, and we're trying to figure out who did it. Not everybody's going to try to work out the crime as we go.
True.
Not everybody's going to try to work it out. We're just here to some of us are just here to have a good time.
Just carry me along.
Just carry me along. And then so that when you get to the end, like, really, she did. You know.
And
So
most people actually prefer watching
that. So it's not a crime thesis or something they have to. They're writing exams. Hello.
Most people like that. And then there are people like us that
But for the few who would want to follow the actual crime, you have to lead those things there. But to answer your question, is the entertainment thing comes into play to keep everybody engaged. To keep everybody engaged. And such that every time someone speaks or every time we cut to a new scene, there is at least a new information. At least one new information. So it's not like, oh, he's dead, and the next is, oh, he's dead, and the next is, oh, he's dead, and or she killed him, and he gets it. She killed him, and hello, we know. The first 5 times you said it.
I get you.
So there's enough information such that every time we get to a new scene, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. Could it be this guy? You understand?
Keeping them guessing.
So for some reason, I'm starting to suspect this lady because the way she's talking, I don't like it. So that's where that comes in. Like I said, it's difficult.
It is.
Like it is. You have to keep track of all of that. You have to keep track of all of that as you go.
I've done a film where it was also that kind of thing, and they legit right on sets started taking some particular things out because they had realized they had put too much, and people will figure it out pretty much almost, I guess. So there were some scenes where I'm supposed to say a particular thing, like, so you don't say this, you just stop here. Stuff like just to make sure they don't give too much
information. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Or in edits, sometimes they go,
edit too. True.
I'm looking at the cut and maybe take out this. Because at this point, if we leave this in, it might suggest a lot more than we want to suggest to the audience.
Because sometimes maybe in the shot, they actually took a close-up of a particular thing. When you're watching it, that close-up won't be there. Because if not,
it's too much.
It's too much.
It's definitely difficult. But once it's done well, because it's one of my favorite genres. I love it when I'm Sherlock Holmesing a film while I'm watching it. So it's one of my own favorite genres. When I get to the end and I was not able to figure it out. For instance, The Prestige, The Prestige is a film by Christopher Nolan.
It is. About two magicians.
Two magicians. It's one of my favorite films ever. And for obviously, I'm guessing, I'm sure you're saying. So for obvious reasons, it's an amazing film. But one of my most I love about it the most is the fact that I could not figure out both tricks. I could only figure out Hugh Jackman's character's ability to do the transportation man. I wasn't able to figure out Christian Bale's one, which was actually the easiest to figure out.
Yeah, it was easiest. And
but
then,
because I'm thinking so much and I'm going something that was right very much on your nose, so that he said over and over and over, which was not the brilliance of it, because it was said over and over again. And I realized that's what they were doing. They said it so much so that you would not think it's right, which is just.
So for the Prestige, in the first few scenes, if you're paying attention, you'd have noticed.
They foreshadowed.
They foreshadowed the Christian Bale's character. So they foreshadowed Christian Bale's character with the bed thing. We had a man did that dove thing. And the guy was like, it's a different bed. No, it's not the same bed. He killed it. So that was foreshadowed there. And then the Hugh Jackman character was when that Chinese guy.
No. Actually, also I thought you can say they foreshadowed both
at the same time.
At the same time. That's what the killing was saying. So in that same scene, you had that happen there. So that's the beauty of it here. So we've already shown you what we're doing here. So that by the time you get to the end, you're thinking,
geez. You know what?
That is what happened.
That put me in the mood. That came out wrong. I mean, happy.
Yes.
So that was what happened.
So there's this thing we do. Okay, sorry.
Go.
Okay, so this thing we do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about it. You probably know about it. Nollywood to Hollywood. We pick a film.
Yeah.
And we have our guests substitute the characters with Nigerian actors.
Yes.
So since we're already talking about the Prestige, we should do the Prestige, yeah?
All
right. So you can cast anybody but the people sitting on this couch.
Yes.
Or
present company excluded.
Yeah. But if you feel like, there's nobody else in this country that can play it, then just don't cast Paul.
Okay.
All right, so I guess we'll start with the elephants in the room.
We have,
who would you cast as...
There are two titans in the film. In fact, three titans, if I'm being honest. Because we have Sir Michael Caine, we have Hugh Jackman, and Christian Bale. So let's start with Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Who will do that? I think Bimbo Manuel will do Michael Caine.
Yeah.
That's why they pay him the big bucks.
Bimbo Manuel.
It actually lovely John Carter, actually.
Bimbo Manuel is a criminally underrated.
Yes. I got the pleasure. I've worked with him a bunch of times, but I got the pleasure of working with him closely as his son last year. The Lost Days.
Oh, yes.
The Lost Days is a film on Prime.
It is. It's a beautiful film. Check it out.
Bimbo Manuel is criminally
so brilliant.
He's a brilliant actor.
Okay. So who would you cast for Christian Bale?
For Christian Bale or Alfred Borden?
Alfred Borden. That's the character's name.
Yeah. So the Christian Bale character, I'll go with. Let me see. Who will I cast for that? Wow.
Yo, I see. I like to do it.
You know what? Don't do this. Don't think about Christian Bale.
Just think about the role. So I'm not thinking about Christian Bale. You see how easy it was for me to go for Bimbo Manuel.
Yes, you did.
I wasn't thinking about Michael Caine.
Yes,
you know? I mean,
you're thinking about the character. Cool.
I was thinking about the character. Like, who do I feel can do the Christian Bale thing?
I forgot to say, you can switch genders as well.
Is it?
You can switch genders. It can be any era of time.
Yes.
When they're in their prime. Go crazy with it. Say, I'm so sorry.
You guys should not say that.
Apologies.
No. So if I can do that, if I'm doing Bill, I'll go with Noah.
Ramsey.
Noah. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that his twin movie. I saw that his twin when I was a wee little kid.
Dangerous Twins?
Dangerous Twins, yeah. I saw his twin movie when I was. I'll go Ramsey.
Okay.
For Hugh Jackman or Robert Angier?
Robert Angier.
For Hugh Jackman. I'll go with William Benson. I'll go William Benson.
I put three of them on the poster already.
I'll go William Benson.
What about beautiful ladies in the film?
Yes. Scarlett Johansson's character, Olivia.
Olivia. Scarlett Johansson's character was the one that was...
she was the assistant.
The assistant.
Yeah. Okay. Double agent assistant.
Not the Bill...
No, not the Bill wife.
The assistant. For that assistant, I'll go with... I'll go Osas.
Osas Ihedaro.
Yeah, I'll go with Osas Ihedaro.
That's really cool.
I'll go with Osas for the assistant.
What about the other lady?
The other lady, I'll go with...
Sarah, what was her name?
Rebecca Hall. Sarah Borden.
Yes.
I'll go with Adune.
Ade. That's a fire choice. That's a fire choice.
Like, yo,
I'll go with Adoni for that.
that's a damn good film.
I'll go with
Yes,
Adoni.
yes. I would watch that.
I feel like I also feel
I
like
think it would be-
Adoni is like underutilized. Like I
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
I feel sometimes you see some actors do something like we're not
Pushing them.
we're not getting the entire juice we should be getting from these people.
We're not maximizing their talent.
We're not
There's a
maximizing
lot
the
here.
talent.
We're not using it.
So
Yeah,
I look at the cast list you just shared with us, and it has a certain level of prestige, if I do say so myself.
Pun intended.
You see what I have to live with. Jeez. Okay, I won't like that. Sometimes his stuff is actually pretty good.
Yes. Okay, like this time.
No. Still on the news.
Yes. See, this has me thinking, and I want to hear what you'll say. Now, I want you to pick an oldie, an old Nigerian classic that you liked, you watched growing up, and I want you to modernize it. Story-wise, I'm talking
I want to make suggestion,
pure
but
story.
I guess you get to pick,
not casting,
can I
just pure
suggest?
story. Like, oh, okay, this is the premise for. Let's say, I don't want to prejudice what you're picking, but
I
let's
want
say
to prejudice
this is the premise for Tales by
suggest.
Moonlight, blah, 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 blah. And this is what I would do to bring it into
Not
this
Tales by
time
Moonlight,
and
not Tales
era.
by Moonlight.
I know, I just said that so I don't
Can I suggest one?
Suggest one. Let's see if I go.
Can you do Shawari there?
Shower right
Oh!
there.
Wow.
If you can modernize that film for now, it will slap so hard.
Did you have the privilege of watching it when
Yes,
you were
yes, I
beautiful?
did.
Thank
I
you.
did.
So
I
was
watched
it
that
something you think you want to attempt now, or do you have another one in mind?
Yeah, I will do shower right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's one of my favorites.
But my
Yeah.
my original pick would have been Glamour Girls. But let's go with shower right there.
You know, I have, but let's go with Shower Day first. Because for the Glamour Girls,
Yes.
for the longest time, I've had an idea as to what I would do to bring it into today.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another time. But let me hear. But please also, because a lot of young filmmakers are watching, if you could give us a technical blow by blow, even if it's a 3-step plan, clearly, concise, where we can follow and go, okay, if I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, this is what I would learn from here today.
I don't know about 3-step plan.
Oh, it doesn't have to be 3-step. I'm just
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I'm just so you understand what. So when I'm writing, when I write,
Yes.
so this is how I secure my own mental health when I write.
Okay. Very important.
So that regardless of like reactions, I know, this isn't just whatever, So what I do is, I try to, what I actually do is hinge my plots or my structures on some certain philosophical bedrock.
Okay.
So that when you're arguing, you're not arguing with me, you're arguing with that.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Please explain.
For instance, if you take Shower Day, for instance.
Yes.
There's a book by Gile and I forgot this other guy's name. It's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover.
Okay.
So basically what the book does is, talk about the archetype of the king, the archetype of a warrior, the archetype of a magician, and the archetype of a lover.
Okay.
And then how you can, grow character-wise in terms of, that. And if I was to do Shower Day,
Yes.
I will base a good amount of it on the shadow magician and then the proper magician.
Okay.
So I will base the what's that his name again?
I can't remember the character name.
For now, it's
The Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
So I'll base our protagonist.
Yeah.
I'll base that character on the basically the arc of what I'll find in a book like King, Warrior, Magician, Lover.
Okay.
Basically, number one, my philosophical argument for my new Shower Day story.
Yes.
Then number two is my plot. Okay, how does my plot, help me to make this argument?
Yeah.
Okay. Then number three will be my characterization.
Yeah.
Like how will my characters hold different position on this argument I'm making?
I hear you.
This will be our first three.
I get you. Sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I would hope, maybe with any luck, we'll probably get to see something like
lovely,
this.
actually. Like I said, it's kind of one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, it is.
And okay, I got to watch it again pretty recently, and it didn't feel out of date.
Yeah.
But
It held up.
let's just say they want to make it again.
Yeah.
That means I can get to be a child, to be inside. You know what I'm saying? So because Shari there and Igudu.
You're putting this out there into the universe.
Into the universe.
Yes.
Let's make a little boy's dream come true.
Thank you for sitting with us and sharing these
Thank you for
insightful.
having me.
Yes.
Definitely.
But before you
learned a
go,
lot.
you have a lot of young filmmakers out there who watch, hopefully, and listen. And if you could share 3, 4, or 5 tips on writing for film, writing for probably television shows, and how to go about making a name for themselves in this industry, things they need to look out for.
Yeah, so let's start with making a name for yourself. I don't think that is something you can do by yourself.
Okay.
So I think in terms of blowing, we tend to in our plans to blow, we tend to underestimate the power of the audience, the power of reception. It is reception that determines whether you blow or not.
True.
I think as an actor,
It applies to that.
Everything,
So because if you're well received, if you see the audience's reaction to your work. In fact, it's just basically, I like what he wrote. Let him come and write this for me. That's just how it works.
That's how Nollywood works.
That's how it works. That's how everything works. Really. Nobody wants to go with a doctor who,
Is anybody wants to go with
a doctor who doesn't?
I hear what you're saying.
So that one I don't think that is not within your control. So we'll leave that one. So we'll now go to the things that are within your control. The things that are within your control is your craft. You always have to work at your craft. And it also has to be such that if nobody was paying you to do it, would you still do this? In fact, let me even take it a step further. If nobody was paying you to do this, would you risk your own money?
Would you back yourself?
Yes. Would you risk your own money, your own savings, your own life savings to do this? Because if you're not going to do that,
why do you want people to bet on you?
If you're not going to bet on yourself, I'm sorry, nobody's going to bet on you.
True.
So if you take and let's look. So I think we have this mentality of blowing. And I think we should just drop that mentality
or move away from
it. Because let's be honest, most of the things we do in film are lifelong crafts.
True.
If you're doing it right, the older you get, the better you get. So I think that should just be, how do I get better with every new job?
I hear you.
Because you can
get stuck in your ways.
Because of desperation. So because you have to eat.
And
I'm not knocking it, you have to eat. But at every and I've been lucky. Because I've worked with people who let me do my craft the way I want to do it. And I've also had the resources that I could easily say, you know what, I don't think I want to do this. Not everybody has that. So sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. But you have to also have in the back of your mind that this is a lifelong craft.
It is.
And the further you go, the better you get. But if you learn the wrong habits, you're going to get stuck in your ways. And if you get stuck in that, you're going to be classified. And Nollywood is very notorious for that.
You're classified.
Boxing you into a position.
This is all you're good for.
This is all you're good for.
I hear you.
And you get stuck in that place.
I hear you.
And that's not something you want to do to yourself.
I don't think it's a place anyone wants to be.
It was one of the biggest fears when I was starting out as well. Just see me as a particular kind of actor. Still fighting it to today, actually.
Thank you. It has been an insightful afternoon.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yes. And everyone at home, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And if you like today's episode,
as always, make sure you like,
share,
and subscribe. And remember to tell a friend. That Paul
and Baaj
have a podcast.
Thank you all. Stephen Okonkwo, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Before you go, quickly, what can we expect to see from you? Credit-wise, you're directing these days, if I'm not mistaken. Is there anything we can look forward to maybe sometime in the middle or later in the year?
Yes, there's always something to look forward to. Yeah. So I've written some wonderful things.
Okay, a micro drama. I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, there's even there's The Covenant season 2 shooting currently.
Okay.
It's gonna be done shooting soon.
And you still have time for us?
My
guy.
Yeah.
I have one that I feel like when it comes out, everybody's gonna think I'm insane. And I hope it. Every time it's like
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
You
it comes out the way.
hope that they think you're
it comes out the way.
Can you tell us the name?
No, let me keep that.
yet.
Because we're still in pre-production. And,
okay.
so names, things can
Yes,
change
I
and all
hear
that.
you.
But I doubt this is changeable. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
Then because of name thing, it comes to IP and all that.
Yeah.
So I don't give you my name and then you go with it.
I know what you mean.
So but basically, so we have that. Then I have I shot a few small projects last year as a director.
Yes. Where can we find those products and what are they called?
They're not even out yet. So once the moment they're out, I'll let you know. Some good projects last year. And then I'm looking forward to doing future series and and all that. So
Okay.
Yeah, that's that.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. And thank you all at home for listening. We'll catch you again on the next episode. And until then,
Safe.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you, man. You guys got to the end.
Please like, subscribe, and share. And remember to turn on your notifications.
Yes, so you don't miss our next videos because it's going to be dope. Safe, guys.